Hi you guys, welcome back. My name is O-Sheena. I'm glad that you're here. I'm going to be sharing some Christian writers, some Christian authors that do romance really well. So these are all Christian romance writers, and this is not a super exhaustive list, but if you're just looking for a place to start, if you're looking for Christian romance, these are authors that do it really well. So if you like romance and you want like really cute and really good chemistry between characters, and just solid relationships, healthy relationships, these authors write them really well. I'm sure there's way more that we can chat about in the future, but these are just my recommendations right now. And if you are looking for more romance recommendations or clean romance recommendations or Christian romance recommendations, I have a whole playlist of recommendations. So I'll link it down below. I've done lots of these videos and I really love doing them. So I'm going to share about authors specifically, but recommend a book that they wrote as well. So here we go. So one of my more recent discoveries is Christiane Hunter, and I have not read a ton of her books. I've actually only read 3 at this point, but each one of them had such solid romance in them that I just feel like she's a really good romance writer for that reason. So I'm definitely going to be reading more of her books, but this is book 1 called A Noble Masquerade, in her Hawthorne House series, and you follow a family in, I guess, like British times. It's in the past, and I just found the romance in particular very funny. Like if you like witty banter and just kind of like funny situations that characters get into that are kind of like embarrassing but funny, that's a lot of what is in this book, and it was just such a joy to read and totally clean. Like all of these are clean, obviously they're Christian romance, but I just feel like Christiane Hunter is a really great writer to get into, and I'm excited to read more of her books. So far I've only read books within this series, but I'm definitely interested in reading more of her books that she's written in other series. Super recommend this book. It's super funny and really good. Now if you're not looking for historical, you want more modern romance, super recommend Nicole Dees. So this is All That Really Matters. This is the first book in a duology, and if you like kind of the influencer theme of a story, like this follows a girl who is like a beauty YouTuber, and she has an Instagram, and she's a beauty influencer, and she ends up wanting to kind of change her life and make her resume look better. So she ends up volunteering at a youth shelter, and she goes through a lot of transformation, but the romance was so sweet because it really, like, it was kind of a slow burn in a way. There was definitely chemistry there, but it was a lot also about her own personal development and her relationship with the kids, and I just loved all of the extra aspects on top of the romance in this book, and it was super modern. So if you like that, Nicole Dees is writing really great contemporary romance stories, and they're all clean and very funny and exciting and good to read. Okay, if you like royalty romance, of course Toni Shiloh. She's kind of the queen, I feel like, of royalty romance right now, only because like this book in particular was so good, and she has a duology, In Search for Prince, and what is the second one called? I forget. Anyways, this is the first book though, and this one was super faith-filled. So if you like seeing your characters actually practicing their faith on the page, this one has it, which was so nice. And this one is a slow burn romance as well. So I feel like it's a romance that you don't quite see coming, and then it's there and you see it and it's like so cute. So super recommend this one. Toni Shiloh, her writing is just so good. So she's coming out with a new book as well in August, so if you want to get into her, I recommend starting with this. But she also has a new book coming out that isn't royalty, I don't think, but it is celebrity, which is also going to be great, I'm sure. But yeah, definitely recommend this book if that sounds good to you. Another recent discovery for me is Rachel Fordham. So this is Where the Road Bends, but I also read another book by her, but this one definitely stands out as being super good romance. What I loved about it is the way the characters communicated with each other. I felt like... Hi, I'm just filming, so I'm gonna close the door and...
Okay, I'm gonna go walk and get my package.
Okay.
So you don't have to go to the door. I'll just be 1 second.
Okay. Alrighty. Rachel Fordham. So what I loved about these characters is that they really communicated well. Like they definitely had their issues and they had things they were keeping from each other, but I felt like it was a really realistic thing to be keeping from someone. Like, it wasn't just these like kind of dumb secrets like, oh, I don't want to talk about my feelings. It was more so like really deep-rooted trauma that like was hard to talk about, so they didn't want to. And I just felt like the communication aspect was just really refreshing to read. And then just all of the characters in the story, I just loved everything about it. And I just felt like the way Rachel Fordham wrote the progression of this romance was really satisfying and realistic, and I appreciated it. So highly recommend. We're super good. Okay, I can't talk about romance without mentioning Becky Wade. She is my favorite romance writer. Yeah, she is. And I would recommend starting with Today With Me. She has amazing series out there, lots of great books. She has a really good standalone, but if you wanted to start, I feel like this is one of her best stories that she's ever written, and it really showcases her talent super well. What was so satisfying about this book is the chemistry between these characters. She writes chemistry on the page super well in a non like uncomfortable way that feels like I shouldn't be reading it. Like, it gets the message across that these characters like each other and they have a connection, but it doesn't go past stuff that I don't want to be reading. So yeah, it's done really well, and it's very funny. Like, again, the kind of banter back and forth, the funny situations these characters get into, so good. And yet there's a lot of depth to this book as well. So overall, I think this is just probably the best of the best. One of the best, okay? But I'm about to share some other really good ones. But anyways, definitely read this one. I truly think that if you like romance, you will like this book. Yeah. But then we have Tammy L. Gray, Love and a Little White Lie. If you like romance, you must read this. You must, okay? This one has a little bit of a love triangle, a little bit of didn't see that coming, a little bit of friends to lovers. It's so good. The way that Tammy L. Gray writes emotions, I feel like she's really good at writing characters being emotional on the page and emotional between each other, so that it's realistic, but it's also so good. Oh, the romance was so incredibly satisfying. You must read this, okay? And lastly, Bridge to Haven by Francine Rivers. This is such a good romance story, but more than that, it is a redemption story, which I love. I love when redemption is paired with romance, because especially when it is shown that the character has redemption with Jesus first, and they have their own coming to faith story first, and then romance comes as well, and it's so satisfying. So Francine Rivers, she does it perfectly. And this book, it's definitely very intense. There are trigger warnings for this book for sexual abuse, and a little bit of it is described. Like, it's not completely kind of fade to black type of stuff. It's like vague descriptions so that you understand what's going on. So it's difficult, but she writes it in a way that it doesn't feel unnecessary. It feels very intentional and done in a way that it's like she talks about hard topics that are true, that really happen to people, but then she writes redemption around it in a beautiful way that shows a better way, you know? And I recommend, okay? So that's that. Here are the books. I've been stacking them. Aren't they beautiful? I recommend all of these authors. They are solid romance authors if you are looking for romance and you don't want to read smut. These books have no smut in them, but you can enjoy the good banter, witty chemistry, cute moments, flirtation. That's what we like. So cute. These are that, okay? So yeah, I highly recommend these books. I'll write them all down below with their authors. And again, I'll link down any videos that might relate to this. So all of my recommendations, I have a whole playlist. Explore my channel. I have lots of recommendations. I'm sure you'll be able to find something. There is quite a bit of crossover, but I'm just always wanting to recommend really solid, clean stories to you. So these are some more for you. Thank you so much for watching, you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.